We know we're going to use fraction strips to determine each quotient using models. We're given the fraction 3/4 divided by 3. So let's represent 3/4 to start with the fraction strip. So we've got one whole strip divided into 4 pieces. 3/4 is that much. Each one of these is 1/4 in size. Now, we're going to start by creating an equivalent fraction with this. And we're using the whole number to figure out what that fraction is. So we're going to divide each piece, in this case, into 3. So I start with the same size fraction strips. And I'm going to divide each one of them into 3 pieces. So that means 2 lines in each piece creates 3. So I've done that. The same space is shaded. So my shaded area doesn't change. The pieces, if you count them, there's 12 of them now. So this becomes 1/12. You don't necessarily have to label each box if you're understanding it. But if you're not getting it, then it's probably a good idea. So the yellow portion here is 3/4. The yellow portion in this one is 9/12, but those are equivalent. So that's the first step, create an equivalent fraction strip with the smaller denominator. Well, the smaller pieces, larger denominator. So now we can actually face the division. We're dividing by 3. Well, if we have 9, and you divide that into 3 equal pieces, we've got 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. Then what we're left with, and again, I'm going to make sure that all of my bars line up. So if we divide it into 3 pieces, one of those pieces, these are still 1/12, one of them now is that big. So when you divide by 3, you're left with 3/12. Now in this particular case, that's actually not lowest terms. We can actually go back to quarters in this particular instance. And that's 1/4. So we started with 3/4. Using equivalent fractions, we converted that to 9/12. Then we divide 9 pieces into 3 equal sections. One section is this large, so that's 3/12, which is also equal to 1/4. Now in this particular instance, we probably could have just shortcut it and said, okay, well we've got 3 pieces. If we divide those into 3 equal groups, we only have 1 in each group. So our answer would actually be 1/4, which is what we've done here. But this longer process will always work. If this had been 2/4 or 1/4, then you wouldn't be able to jump straight to your answer. You would need to use the equivalent fraction. So that's why we're teaching the process. So part B, we're going to follow the same process. So 5/6 divided by 2. So we start with a fraction strip. And we need to divide this into sixths. So each one of these is 1/6 in size. But 5/6 is the number we're working with, so I'm going to illustrate that by shading it. So 5/6. Now we need to use equivalent fractions again here. We're dividing each of these boxes into 2, so we'll draw another one. Again, exact same pieces. And I'm going to cut them in half. The 2 is the whole number, so we divide each one into 2. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these are now 12ths. We need to shade the same length of strip as we did initially. So we started with 5/6. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12ths. They're equivalent fractions. At this point we haven't done anything to change the value. Now that we've got our equivalent fraction set up, we can divide it by 2. If we have 10 pieces and we divide it into 2 groups, which is what division means, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2 groups. One of those groups is what our answer actually is. So in this case, again, we're still in 1/12. It's a lot of drawing and writing when you use strips. Next section we work on uses number lines, which is a little quicker. So we've divided into 2 equal groups doing our division. One group takes 5 of these. So when you divide by 2, you're left with 5/12, which is our answer. That's, in this case, it happens to be lowest terms. So that's our final step. So that's the show you know.